He drove the bus. Family. We'll find out shortly. Now we No, because then that gas. Rocky, that weekend, $1,700 for the weekend for gas. Good evening. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Please call the roll.
Councilman Van Cleek,
Here.
Councilman Secreto, Councilman Kitchen, Councilwoman Hayner, Supervisor Quigley.
Here. Thank you very much and welcome to the Town of Ulster Town Board Workshop meeting for Thursday, March 3rd. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda? No. Are there any members of the public here tonight who would wish to address the town board on agenda items? So we also have a public hearing, which is eligible for public comment. And then at the end of the meeting, we have a general public comment session. So hearing none, communications, please.
We have one dated February 14th, 2022. To whom it may concern, I am writing today to request information on the status of Town of Ulster Summer Camp for 2022. The Town of Ulster Summer Camp was one of the most desirable camp for working/non-working parents and children because of its successful years in operation as a safe, structured summer camp. Our community looks forward to getting back to normal and hopes that summer camp is going to be a viable option for our children. Please let us know as soon as possible so that we make summer camp arrangements for our children. Thank you, Town of Ulster residents.
Thank you very much. And that is a great segue into Mr. Secreto, your presentation on summer camp for 2022.
Yeah, I'll come to read some figures and some dates about our summer camp. Camp will run from June 27th to August 19th. Hours will be 9 to 3, ages 6 to 12. We're going to limit at 150 Town of Ulster residents first. We don't fill the 150. We'll take a waiting list of out-of-town residents that can fill into the 150. Out of the cost will be $400 per child for a resident, $100 for each sibling after that. An out-of-town resident will pay $475, $125 for each sibling after that. Be no refunds. Once you sign up, you're in the camp for the 8 weeks. Let's see. We'll start taking registration opens on April 4th. Right now, we'll put it out on Facebook that will accept applications for counselors that will work at the camp, be 16 years old. If you want to be a CIT, a counselor in training, we usually take 13, 14, and 15-year-olds. We train them. So when their time comes to work at the camp, they'll step right in there and they'll be getting paid. The counselors will be making $15 an hour. So I think that's pretty good for a high school kid right now, or someone just coming home from college. This will be on our Facebook page. I talked to a principal. She's going to send it around to the area schools. So this notice will get out there. And we're on the subject of some recreation. The town's also going to have its Easter egg hunt back after 2 years. April 9th, the rain date will be the 10th. We'll hold it at Post Park at 11 o'clock. Ages 4 to 10, we'll have prizes, goodie bags. We'll have the Easter bunny there if you want your child to have a picture taken or him with the Easter bunny. And we'll go around for some donations from some area stores around here. So April 9th is the date. The rain date is the 10th. That's about it.
On the matter of summer camp?
Yep.
Any discussion from the town board? May I have a motion to authorize proceeding with summer camp under the outline that Councilman Secreto has put forth, as well as to initiate the advertising for employees and individuals to attend summer camp?
I'll second that.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Go for it. Go for it.
I'll get a hold of Susie and Lauren, our rec. I have to say thanks to our rec committee for sitting down and getting this done.
Very good. The next item is a normal item for this time of the year. It is at the request of the Ulster County Commissioner of Finance. It is a motion authorizing the supervisor to sign an application for the town of Ulster to continue to collect taxes until June 1st, 2022. And may I have a motion to authorize the signing of this agreement? Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on our agenda is a discussion on purchasing new Town of Ulster signs from Core Craft Products. In the mid-90s, a local benefactor who owned a business in this community purchased for the benefit of the Town of Ulster the Welcome to the Town of Ulster signs that are placed around the boundaries of our community on major roads. It's been 25 years since those signs were put up. They are showing their age. And we have been talking about this for a couple of years now, and we have finally received a quotation from Core Craft Products, which is the New York State Corrections Facility Craft Shop, Sign Shop. And they are proposing to provide 39 signs in accordance with our requirements for $3,931. And some of these signs are going to be required to be placed on new poles because some of the poles are old and broken, rusted. We will also need to upgrade the hardware to mount the signs on the poles so that it is a breakaway sign per safety standards. So I'm going to propose that the town proceed with a motion to authorize the purchase of these signs and the processing of the accessories that are going to be required for an amount not to exceed $5,000.
Make that motion.
Is there any discussion anyone wants to have on the replacement of the signs?
It's basically that sign there, right?
Yes, that is correct. It's welcome to the town of Ulster.
Same size sign.
Same size. We're replacing the signs as they are. There's 30 units of 36 by 24, and then there's 9 96 by 48 signs. Well, we got a lot of entrances to the town, you know? So all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. There has been considerable discussion amongst the supervisors in the county as to the use of the American Recovery Programs funds, the ARPA funds. In your book, to formulate for a future discussion and to advise the community as to what we plan on doing with our allocation is a schedule that shows the various categories, premium pay, public safety expenditures, and infrastructure programs. And it shows the individual amounts that are allocated to each and their estimated timing. So I'm making a presentation of that. If there's anyone who wishes to have a discussion on that tonight, I'll be glad to proceed on that matter.
Will that be on the website in the next few days?
It is now on the website in the package of materials for this town board meeting. Okay, moving on. Again, it is that period of time in the year when Cornell Cooperative approaches the town for permission to do their Ryder Park boat inspection program for the summer of 2022. They basically set up an inspection station at Ryder Park's boat launch, and they talk to the boat owners who come in and out of the Hudson River and educate them on the various, I don't know, what crustaceans that attach themselves to the bottom of the boat during the period of time that it's in the Hudson River and the damage that they could cause if they were transported overland and then put into another body of water like the Hudson, the Roundout, the Esopus, or a lake. So I would like a motion to authorize the supervisor to proceed with the agreement and sign the agreement for the 2022 boat launch. Any discussion? Yes. And this is the third organization that has done this. They seem to cycle through between Rockland, Albany, Rockland, back to Albany. So all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on our agenda is a resolution establishing a capital reserve fund for the benefit of the Spring Lake Sewer District under General Municipal Law, Section 6C. The town made an application to the Housing and Community Redevelopment Office in Albany for a grant for the construction of the Spring Lake Sewer District Phase 2. And while we were unsuccessful in obtaining that grant in the current round, the comments made in the post review included that the town should establish a capital reserve. So tonight I'm presenting a resolution to establish said capital reserve in accordance with the directions from HCR in Albany for the sewer district.
I'll make that motion.
Any discussion on the capital reserve? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Secreto.
This subject right here is a resignation letter from the police department. Officer Nolan Secreto. Dear Chief Berardi, please accept this letter as my formal resignation from the position of police officer for the town of Ulster Police Department effective March 7th, 2022. It has been my honor to serve this department in this community for the last 2 years. I am grateful for the knowledge and experience that I've acquired here and appreciate it for the opportunity that this department has given me. Please feel free to contact me with any questions. Thank you. With regards, my son, Nolan Secreto. He's leaving in good standing. He's accepting a full-time position with the Kingston Police Department. So that's his letter.
May I have a motion to accept the resignation in good standing of Nolan Secreto from the Town of Ulster Police Department? Any discussion?
Is it okay if we really like him, if we vote against this? And let him stay?
How do you feel about that, Mr. Berard, Chief Berardi? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. At the last meeting of the Town of Ulster Town Board, we had a presentation and a discussion on the acquisition of a new K-9 dog for the Town of Ulster Police Department. So, Mr. Berardi, can you explain to us and tell us how this has proceeded?
Good evening. Approximately about 2 weeks ago, myself and the current handler and the new handler drove to Connecticut to a kennel and looked at this current dog that we picked up. The dog tested it out well with trainers as well as the vet. Today, I just released a press release on Facebook relative to the naming of the dog. We are going to name it K9 Cruz after the late Chief Anthony Cruz. I think it was a good way to commemorate his service to the town of Ulster. And we're looking forward to the good things this dog can do. He starts training in a couple weeks. It's 4 months of patrol school, along with 2 months of narcotics school. We're asking to utilize our asset forfeiture money. This money was designed for purchases like this, seized from drug investigations over the years. And I think it'd be a good way to use this money for a good purpose.
And in light of that, the resolution is to appropriate funds from the Town of Ulster's Asset Forfeiture Fund for the purchase of the K-9 dog. The fund was authorized by an act of Congress in the mid-'80s. It receives the proceeds of money seized during criminal investigations. In my 12 years in office, that fund has stood at 16,000. It has not grown, and it has not been used for any acquisitions of any items that are identified in the program guidelines. So I thought it was appropriate that now is the time we can use this money to acquire a new police dog, and perhaps during the course of his activity might be able to regenerate some of the monies in that fund. So with that being said, may I have a motion to accept the resolution as presented? Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And the last item on the agenda under new business is a resolution approving the Ulster Police Department's body worn camera policy. So would you please explain where we are with this and where we're going?
Obviously, late last year, we acquired our new in-car and body worn cameras. Body worn cameras were one of the major requests out of our police reform committee, as well as I believe the state will make it mandatory for all police departments to have body worn cameras. They've proven themselves so far. Since December, they've been in service. This policy is just secure of the proper usage, storage, and release of that information. The policy was presented to the town board as well as presented to the former police reform committee for suggestions. I did take those suggestions into consideration. I believe this policy is good on its face for what it reads and dictates when and how and when we should be disseminating that information. Excuse me.
If there's any questions on the policy, it is contained in the materials package for tonight's meeting and for the meeting of about 2 months ago when it was first presented, so that it is available to the public. They can look at it and they can understand the rules that our police department operates under as it relates to the use of body worn cameras. With that, may I have a motion to accept the resolution as presented? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I have one last item before I get, yes,
I apologize. If I can just add, Supervisor, just to let the public know, we've been using in-car cameras for 20+ years now. We do have a separate policy that dictated the usage of the in-car cameras. This body worn camera with the integrated in-car camera is the new advanced technology. And I want to appreciate the support of the town board when we went to purchase these, that I felt the necessary need to do both at the time, to double the transparency that we can display to the public.
thank you. The last item on our agenda before we go to the public hearing is a motion to award the bid for water and sewer chemicals for the 2022 year. I will ask the town clerk tonight to read the results of the bids that were opened in public earlier this week or last week? February 23rd. So please proceed.
So this is for salt and chlorine bid opened on February 23rd at 3:30 PM. The water department for salt, US Salt was $225 per ton. Cargill was $250 per ton, and Morton had no bid. For water and wastewater departments for chlorine, Slack Chemicals was a 150-pound cylinder at $334.32 with a $100 refundable deposit. JCI or Jones Chemical was a 150-pound cylinder, $370 and $0 deposit.
And the low bidders in each category would be,
US Salt and Slack Chemical.
so may I have a motion to authorize the purchases to the two vendors that were cited by the town clerk as a result of the public opening of the bid? I'll do them together. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Kovacs, can you explain to us the purpose of tonight's public hearing, please?
This is a public hearing on an application for a accessory apartment on non-residential property under our town code. This is a use that is permitted as a right, subject to a special permit of the town board. This project has gone through the planning board and has been approved, subject to the special permit, and special permits always require a public hearing.
Will this have to go back to the planning board after we have our public hearing and make our decision on the special permit?
No, I don't believe so.
This is a completed
Yes.
process. Okay. With that being said, may I have a motion to open the public hearing? I have a second. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any comments on the town board's granting of a special use permit for an apartment at a non-residential property located at 2016 Ulster Avenue, please come to the podium, state your name, your community of residence, and make your comments. No comments? I have a motion to close the public hearing. All those in favor? Aye. Ladies and gentlemen, the town board usually keeps the record open for 30 days in relation to receiving written public comment. But seeing that the nature of this permit is for something that is not a contentious matter, I will ask for a motion of the town board to issue the special permit for an accessory apartment at this location. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The permit has been authorized. Mr. Tutt, you are authorized to proceed with this project from the building department's point of view, and that concludes our scheduled agenda for tonight. I do have public comment on the agenda. So if there's any members of the public who are here tonight who wishes to come speak to the town board, make comment to the town board, please approach the podium.
Hi, I'm Brooke Coleman. I live in the Bright Acres community. We've been here, a few of us have been coming just to talk about the issue of the people that are walking on 28 at night. And because there was one person that got hit, and then there were a few other things that happened in the neighborhood, people roaming around, et cetera. We've been making some phone calls and trying to figure out how we can help out those people so that they're not roaming around the streets at night. We haven't really come up with anything, any way to really stop people from walking around at night. There was the suggestion that like, if there can be some kind of like a after dark pedestrian curfew or something in that area, just so that people don't get hit by cars. Also on that same strip, Forest Hill Drive, we actually all got together this past week to discuss some of the things because there seems to be a lot of activity going around in our neighborhood. There's a lot of trash up and down that road heading to the roadway inn. Roadway inn, is that what it is? And we were concerned about the people staying there and if they were DSS placement, blah, blah, blah. We found out that they're really just like a handful of people that were placed there. And it's just other, regular people off the street that are having rooms there. However, there's like overdoses and all kinds of crazy stuff happening up there all the time. And there are signs that are hanging over that seem dangerous, to say the least, over that road heading towards Potter Brothers. And there's just a few things, and we just wanted to see if there was somebody that could check out what's going on up there to see if something could stop it from happening.
We'll have the building department take a look at the building department matters.
Okay,
And the police department certainly has the travel lodge in its sights because of the number of incidents that are up there and
okay,
the number of calls. But just to further the discussion, your comments did not fall on deaf ears. On the 18th of February, we had a conference call with Ulster County DSS, the county executive's office, and the building department, police department, and myself, where we discussed this matter. And Legislator Cahill was on this conference call, and it was at that meeting we were informed of the number of residents that DSS had placed in both facilities. It became clear to us that there was not a high penetration of DSS clients like you learned,
mhm,
and that there's not a whole lot that we can do as far as restricting pedestrian traffic. But prior to that meeting, I was at a meeting with Dennis Doyle of the Ulster County Transportation Council. He is the county planner. And it has gotten to the Transportation Council's attention of the pedestrian problems.
okay,
And they have had discussions within their office. And they coordinate programs that are called Safe Streets,
okay,
which promote the construction of trails and sidewalks throughout the county. So they have discussed, and I can't make a commitment for them because they control the purse strings, but it has been suggested that they're going to try to identify a project where they could go hire a consultant to design some type of pedestrian solution for that area.
okay,
And that would connect with the existing trail that is on the traffic circle. So the issues basically come about is what are you going to do on the sides 28 which is a state highway, and what are you going to do with the bridges, because you need some way to
Okay.
cross the bridges,
mhm,
which is the problem that they have and the town has when we insist on sidewalks on the Washington Avenue spur prior to coming out of the city.
Mhm.
There is no capability of that bridge to have sidewalks placed on it because it's narrow.
Mhm.
And that bridge was just rebuilt. It wasn't rebuilt wide enough to place sidewalks.
Right.
So this is a complicated matter. I also understand that some of the other issues in my neighborhood, because it is my neighborhood also, relates to the activities at the end of Fawn Hill and the potential construction of two houses. The original planning board approvals from 1985 reserved the 50-foot right-of-way for a strip to go out to either 28 or Forest Hill Drive to make a connecting road. When I reviewed the building file for that subdivision, there were 7 pages of petitions against the interconnection.
Yeah.
Now, I have spoken to the individual who has purchased the property. He has told me it is his intent to put 2 houses on that 13-acre parcel, one for himself and one for his daughter.
Right.
And he has no intention, nor does he have a legal right to access Forest Hill Drive. So that means he has no intention of connecting Fawn Hill, Bright Acres to Forest Hill with a
Okay.
public street. So that is a moot issue at this time. Just for your education, he will be making an application to the planning board sometime in the next couple of months for his subdivision. It will be at a public meeting. You are welcome to come to the public meeting when he makes his presentation so you can understand what he is proposing for his improvements and where they're going to be located on the lot if there is any concern. I also want to mention that there is a pending application in front of the Town of Ulster Planning Board to convert the Quality Inn, which is located down by Romeo Ford, from a transient hotel into a permanent homeless shelter under the auspices of Rubco. Rubco has indicated that both Family of Woodstock and Catholic Charities will be providing services to the individuals that will be living there. Rubco has committed in an oral conversation with me to providing wheeled transportation. In other words, they're buying a bus to handle the transportation of the residents into Uptown Kingston or Midtown Kingston so that they are not walking.
Okay, great.
They're also intending on putting security in that facility. Now, that all being said, I've asked Rubco to arrange a public presentation available to the residents in the neighborhoods that this project could potentially impact so that everyone has an opportunity to understand what their plans are and to ask the questions that the town has currently had the opportunity to ask of Rubco as they have proceeded with this project.
Right.
So this will be a public process and it will be available to the citizens of our community.
Yeah.
In conjunction with that project, Ulster County has committed $2 million of their ARPA money to provide sewer and water underneath the thruway to the Quality Inn. That will allow us to extend the line to the rear of the property in the approximate location of where the elevated water tank is to connect with the current temporary line. At some point, we will propose a project to place a permanent line from that location through to the pump station at the bottom of Elisa Landy Drive.
Okay.
That is a $300,000 approximate project. Although in today's time, you never know whether those numbers are right or wrong. And I would like to be able to have the flexibility of proceeding with that improvement on a timeline that results in the least amount of economic hardship on the residents in the neighborhood.
So just, I mean, you covered a lot of territory there, but we were aware of a lot of that. And as in the community meeting that we had, there was like a unanimous, nobody wants a through street. So what you said about there being like 7 pages of petitions against it, connecting the two communities, that, I mean, still would stand. I think that everybody.
I don't want a through. street.
Yeah, nobody does. Okay, so there's that. Regarding the water, we discussed that, yeah, and that seems like it makes sense that if they're gonna bring it halfway there, we can complete it with less money, I guess.
Okay.
And then there was one more thing that you brought up that we discussed that was important. Oh, right, the Quality Inn. When this is complete, and apparently it shouldn't be that far out, maybe like 2 years out at this point, that's what I heard. Is the intention that all the DSS would get pulled out of the 2 hotels, right? You know, Motel 19 and
DSS
whatever.
would not make that commitment to us when we were on the conference call
Okay,
because they have different types of clients.
right,
And they could have, you could have an emergency housing situation
Where you have
within
to-
DSS, which is not homeless.
Right.
It's just something happened to the apartment.
Yeah, we just like the idea that they had all the services there that everybody would need, so they wouldn't just be roaming around and they could actually.
But we
places
have
to go.
encouraged DSS to try to maximize their use of the Quality Inn project.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you.
Did
Thank
the county tell us that they were running a bus to 19 and Roadway? Can you make that
There's,
clean?
One of the suggestions we made to the participants from the county was that when they assigned the people to either of these facilities, provide them with a bus schedule and provide them with a free ride.
Right.
Now,
Are they doing that?
we haven't gotten an answer back yet, but even if they did that, there's no assurances that the individuals would take the bus.
Right. From my understanding, there is a free shuttle or they have no fare for that bus and that the schedules are posted. However, I know a lot of the people are, traumatized and they don't necessarily want to get on a bus. So, that kind of a thing. But anyway. All right, thanks.
There any other members of the audience here tonight who have any comments? Come on.
Good evening. I'm Ingeborg Payman and I also live in the neighborhood. I have a question. We did like 12, no, it's like at the beginning.
Can you
of-
speak in the microphone, please?
Oh, sure. Can you hear me? Yeah. When we lived there for 47 years and the water was always a major problem when Mr. Sapino took care of it. So the town of also took it over and we paid for a bond to get this water house done and the tank up there cleaned and the whole thing was working pretty nicely. We are still paying for this assessment. My bill was $1,200 every year. Of course, we pay for water too. So I was wondering, is there any way that we can find out how long this assessment is running?
First of all, I would make a reference that the Bright Acres budget and the financial statements are on the town's website. They have been there for 10 years.
Okay.
The water charges the revenue from selling water is approximately $18,000. It costs us about $80,000 to provide the service. So the difference has to be made up through the tax levy.
Okay.
The bonds were paid off 5 years ago for the $100,000 that was borrowed in, I believe, 1997. That was related to the improvements for the pump and filtration system and the upper storage tank. So the problem is the town is locked into a 99-year agreement with the city of Kingston to buy water
Mhm.
at whatever price that the city of Kingston tells us it is.
Mhm.
And I'm sure you will agree, the water you're receiving now, which is Kingston water, is a lot better in quality.
Oh, it's excellent. Yeah, no complaints. The
We don't
water's
want to go
great.
back.
No, no.
So because of the fact that the operating expenses of the district are so much more than the revenues,
Okay.
which is why I have tried to increase water sales to people who are outside the district. And over the last 4 years, we have allowed 2 residents on Oak Ridge Terrace
Yeah.
and 1 resident on Forest Hill Drive to attach to the Bright Acres Water District. They pay the same rates you pay. They pay the same taxes you pay.
Okay.
And because of the incremental revenue from those 3 residents, we've been able to keep the tax rates down. We've been able to keep the tax rates from increasing. Now, once we get the permanent line under 209, it is my hope that we can expand, because if you go back through the town records, there have been requests from Forest Hill Drive since the 1970s for town water.
Sure.
So once there is an established public supply that is reliable, and I don't mean by a 2-inch temporary line that we have worked hard to make sure was reliable,
Yeah.
we should be able to open up the area to more water sales. When we do that, we will be able to reduce the tax levy because most of the costs of the district are fixed costs.
Mhm. Okay, wonderful. Thanks for your explanation.
Thank you.
Just a short question. My name is Manta Legakis and I live in the neighborhood for 40 years there. I thought 20 years ago when I had a house in Forest Hill for sale, it's a ranch, brick ranch. And the gentleman, Mr. Pfeiffer, I remember his name, and he owned the lot on the left. And he had told me then that it was in right of way for those 13 acres in the back, which was a farm, right? That's what I want to find out.
I have no idea
No
about a right
idea.
of way that might be contained in a deed.
Okay, because that's what he told me when I went to go and get the listing. He said, we do have the right of way for the people to go in the back. In the 13 acres, that's why I was surprised when I used to sell those lots in Bright Acres.
I know you were the listing agent on the house that I purchased.
That's right. So, I never remember in the old map, I had the old map, if there was that right of way on Fawn Hill between Nider and Anna's house. I don't know if it was there. Was
The-
there?
The
I mean, when
original,
they did the subdivision?
the original subdivision had a reservation for a 50-foot road
Yeah.
on Mr. Dieter's property. And somewhere in the late 90s, there was a modification to the map that I cannot find any authorization in the planning board records where that 50-foot right-of-way was broken off as a separate lot placed into the name of Robert Sabino.
Okay.
And as you may well know, Mr. Maxon purchased that lot from Mr. Sabino within the last year to gain
Yes.
access to the 13 acres.
Okay, and there are going to be two houses.
Just two houses. And I've had a
Okay.
conversation with him and he's assured me that's all he wants to do.
And as you mentioned, when they wanted to connect it to 28, Mr. Darling was the one that he put the petition and we all signed because we didn't want to. Because there's so many people, Kingstonians, they still don't know where the Bright Acres is.
And I'm happy with that.
Oh, me too. We had an open house there for Ed's house and people they'll come and said, we're living in Kingston for years and we don't know that this subdivision is existing and we want to keep it this way. And I'm glad that the new people that they come because we're the older people there. We're going to go. So the new people, I like that they get involved with that and they keep it that way. Thank you.
I've been there 30 years now.
30 years you are there. Yes, you are. You're the first owner. You're right. First? Yes.
Second.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead.
We're new. We recently moved into Bright Acres about a little over a year ago. And when we got the deed to the house and everything else, and we were looking over the rules and regulations of the neighborhood and, you can't put signs and this and that and whatever. There was also in there that the lots could no longer be subdivided. Does that still exist? Do we know? Does that still hold true?
How do I explain this? In the subdivision approved plating, there were restrictions placed on the lots that included the requirement to have a light at the end of the driveway.
Mhm.
It prohibited the parking of RVs near a house up there. And I believe it restricted and dictated what type of structure could be put in there, eliminating the possibility of mobile homes or double wides.
Right.
And those are a matter of a legal contract between the developer and the residents.
Mhm.
If you look at the original subdivision map, I believe there was a term, 25 or 30 years from the date that the subdivision was granted, and that those restrictions could only be renewed if the majority of the residents in the subdivision got together
Okay.
and agreed to it.
Okay.
Now, that all being said, in Albany, in the state legislature,
Mhm.
there is an effort underway to eliminate single-family zoning.
Okay.
They have done this in California. And the legislature in California has passed a law that says any place you have a single-family house, you can build a 4-unit house.
Okay.
And this is something that is going on in Albany in response to the affordability crisis.
Right.
So regardless of what the town of Ulster says,
Mhm.
we will be trumped by whatever legislation comes out of Albany.
Right.
For example, our zoning code has certain restrictions on single-wide trailers.
Okay.
They can only go in certain areas, and they can only go in certain areas with special permits. Except that the legislature 2 years ago changed the definition under state law of a single-family residence to include a single-wide trailer.
Mm, okay.
So we have had situations where there have been applications for permits in residential neighborhoods to put a single-wide trailer next to established residential neighborhood.
Mhm.
Did not go well.
Right.
But all I'm trying to say is that there are forces outside the town of Ulster at the state level that are making policy changes that are going to adversely impact our property rights here in the town.
Mm. Oh, so basically what you're saying is that even though there are rules saying that the lots can no longer be subdivided, that's not necessarily going to stop anybody from building a 14-unit home on one lot.
Well, there is, I believe our zoning in that district is R60.
Mhm.
There is a minimum lot size,
Okay.
which you cannot go below.
Okay.
So therefore, that would, for the most part, eliminate the possibility of subdivisions of most of the lots up there, because I think they just meet
Okay.
the R60 size.
Do you know what the size is?
Warren, what do we got for R60? How much?
60,000.
60,000 square feet of land.
Okay.
A lot of those lots up there don't.
No, they don't.
Think about one of the subdivisions. How
Yeah.
long ago was that?
Right, the zoning was 92 and the lot was, but most of the subdivision, the lots up there are greater than 1 acre. So they can't be subdivided, but there's a couple of pieces that are 7 and 8 acres
Right.
that the houses are up there that are very big. So I don't think that that's a possibility. But then you have to look at the contention of what happens in Albany. They come down and say you can put a 4-family on that single
Single lot.
1 acre
right.
lot. Well, now we have issues.
So, I mean, you spoke to the person who is building in that 13 acres, but then you said they only want to build 2 homes.
That's correct.
And they're single family homes?
That's correct.
All right, so good.
Any additional comments? Questions?
Can we have a motion to close the Bright Acres family meeting?
I'll do one better. May I have a motion to close tonight's town board? All those in favor? Thank you very much.
Was all